Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kidRiot, your friendly neighborhood host, and this is episode 3 of Attack on Auraxis. As you can see, I've titled this attack on Auraxis the Prism. The reason for calling this the Prism is that I believe the Nexus very much reflects the Prism, and I'm going to explain to you later on why that is. For now, I have a question from Mustard of Black Widow Company. I reached out into the community to see about some interesting questions regarding PlanetSide 2 competitive play, and this guy actually asked 3 questions in one, which I'm going to take the time to answer now. In the future, it'll be 3 questions from 3 different people, but for now, I'm going with this. His first question is, will we see new teams come in and pose a serious threat to the current top tier? And this is in the context of top teams containing and maintaining the best players in the server. So you have Future Crew on Connery that has attracted players from all factions. You have Nuck on Waterson that has also done the same. And there are various outfits, not just them two, that have done the same on their respective servers. And I believe that the mid-tier teams will have an actual chance to compete with top-tier teams, mainly because the pool of players in PlanetSide 2 is so huge, it's so wide, that you never know when this really good player is going to turn in the corner and join your team. Mid-tier teams have to work a little harder for it, because they don't have those established players that have the top killers, the top pilots, the top armor pilots. But as long as they do the work, they maintain focus, they learn from other people's videos, they learn from their own mistakes, which is very important. I think mid-tier teams will have a definite chance in competing with top-tier teams. Mustard's second and third question is, will mid-tier outfits ever have a chance at beating a team consisting of the top 30 to 40 players in that respective server faction? Will this have a negative impact on the entertainment value of MLG? Now I see this question is a little more interesting than the first one, because if MLG results in only the top 3 or 4 teams consistently playing each other, then I believe that MLG will be boring to watch. It might be exciting in the sense that you have top tier competition going on at all times, but if it's the same teams fighting the same matches, fighting the same people, it can be boring. Ideally, I would like to see a League of Legends LCS system where the top 8 teams from the ladder compete in a split, say over a period of a month or 2 months, to see who takes the top crown for MLG. What this does, and as you've seen with League of Legends, is it builds team loyalty, outfit loyalty, and player loyalty. You'd get people rooting for outfits, you would get people rooting for players, and I think it'd be beneficial to PlanetSide 2. Now, on to the video itself. What I wanted to talk about, and why I called this episode the Prism, is because if you think of the Nexus, or each warp gate in the Nexus, as that one focal beam of light, that one beam of light that's about to hit the Prism. And why is it one beam of light? Well, because the platoon leader is the one who commands the soldiers on the battlefield. He's the one who leads the squads, tells the squads what to do, when to do it, and basically organizes the strategic meta on the map. Here you have the match beginning, and you have the opening from NNG and TGWW, and then you're going to see the opening from TXR. It's mostly going to be air resources. Now, you have that one platoon leader's mindset, his plan of attack, his way to take out the other opponent in the Nexus. And that's the one beam of light. As soon as it hits these warp gates, you see the squad spreading out, multicolored, multifaceted, multi-objective. And that's why I believe that the Prism and the Nexus are tied intrinsically to each other. Because you have the platoon leader's one mind, and then as soon as it breaks off into these warp gate bubbles, metaphorically speaking of course, then you have the splitting off of colors, you have different objectives, you have squad leaders moving their squads, micromanaging the squads on the tactical battlefield. And the opening is almost the single most important thing that you have in the Nexus. When you open in the Nexus, whatever your plan of attack is, it has to be run efficiently, smoothly, and very quickly. You're going to see here why, when you see here watching TXR changes, you're going to see some of these plans of attack fail. What happens is the Vanu side of this, NNG and TGWW, plan more efficiently for this first encounter in the air. They realized that it was the air that dominated the battlefield, and with the current spawn rules inside of the Nexus where you can't squad deploy or use spawn beacons, the aircraft would dominate the entire map, because any senators that get pulled into these bases would get immediately destroyed, and TR found out the hard way why that was true. Here we are at the start of the second half, and you're going to see in this second half that TR has adapted. They have pulled more air to counter the Vanu's error. The reason you want the opening to be as closest to your original plan as possible, and the reason I'm saying the opening is basically everything in the Nexus, is because from the opening your momentum carries you forward. If you pull off Sunderers, like you're going to see here, they're going to be pulling Sunderers, to spawn at the forward bases at either Auraxis, Bitter Gorge, or Granite Head. If those Thunderers could be protected by your successful air, if your air was successful, then you have a distinct advantage over the enemy because you can dictate the fights however you want to. Momentum is everything. Momentum is what carries you into the latter half of the 15-minute, 20-minute rounds, and that's what's going to carry you into the bases attacking the other side of the Nexus. Now you're going to see here that the TR have adapted. They've flown more air, and yet they still failed to manage to take down the Vanu air. Call it luck, call it skill, call it mismanagement of resources, call it what you will, but the TR failed to take out the Vanu air. And the Vanu, in effect, you could see all air vehicles, galaxies. You're going to see even one scythe that drops an infiltrator on the base to spawn a Sunderer. So you see they had a plan of attack. Their opening was for that play, and that play carries them into capturing Auraxis and even other bases inside the Nexus. Now the momentum is important because it's what's going to allow you to move forward, to either progress or to stand still or to push back. Whatever your call is as platoon leader is what's going to allow your forces to spread around the Nexus, attack various points, and keep that momentum going. Momentum is crucial because it's tied to morale, it's tied to how effectively your squads communicate and work together, it's tied to your personal stress level as platoon leader or squad leader. All these things are intertwined. And so that's why you're the opening inside of the Nexus. That's why your personal outfit Prism is so important in the Nexus that I can't stress it enough that you guys go to the Nexus, practice your openings, get your things settled down, and get ready to fight the other outfits. And remember, there's this old military adage that says, no first plan of attack survives the first encounter. Basically, you're not always guaranteed that even if you have a solid plan and you've worked out all the kinks, that when you go into the Nexus and actually fight another live opponent, that your plan's going to work out. So you have to be able to adapt on the move and stay mobile with your forces. Because in this community clash between TXR+MERC, NNG, and TGWW, what happened was the TR were essentially fought to a standstill. They captured Granite Head, the central base, in all of the Nexus, maybe possibly the most important base in the Nexus, but they weren't able to use that base as a focal point or forward operating base for all the other attacks. They were never able to attack, the other bases that it's linked to lattice-wise. And that was because the liberators of the Vanu side weren't giving them any room. They weren't giving them any room to deploy, they weren't giving them any room to stay mobile, they weren't giving them anything. And so the Vanu forces were able to stay mobile, capture points, thus take the win over TXR+MERC. And I believe that if you can't figure out a way to either fight air with air, you have to figure out a way to fight air with static forces on the ground. You could deploy on a mountaintop if you wanted to, a group of bursters with medics and engineers and have them deter air, if anything, for at least a few minutes to allow your Sunderers to get mobile, to get deployed, hopefully in the undersides of bases or anywhere that it can be protected. And it's all about bursters, it's all about walkers, it's all about maintaining your Sunderers. Like you see here, they have a Sunderer at Granite Head, but it's not able to do anything because it's getting pelted by infantry forces. Even if it escaped the Granite Head rock area, it would get nailed down by scythes and liberators. So mobility, adaptation, based off your opening, which is based off the initial prism of your outfit lead. Okay, here we are, and I wanted to show you exactly what happens when you don't control the air. You're going to see firsthand one of the coolest moves that I've seen yet on the Nexus. As soon as we get this video rolling, you get to see it for yourself. This is Granite Head Reactor. This is the middle base inside of the Nexus, and here you see the Vanu Liberator coming into shell it with Daltons. You even get the nice zoom in on it. This is why you want to control the air, and this is what happens when you don't control the air. You see a mosquito try and take it out. The mosquito gets hit by the rocks. You're going to see two more Liberators swoop in and essentially fling Daltons at the infantry unharmed, unmolested, without any worry in the world. And this is why you want to control the air, because these Liberators had not only enough time and skill to do this, which they were very skillful pilots, but they had no pressure on them from outside influences. You always want to dominate the air any chance you get, pool up your resources, have people pull air vehicles for you, the infantry, preferably, but you always want to be able to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. And that about wraps it up for this week's episode of Attack on Auraxis. Once again, I'm kidRiot, and I wanted to throw a plug out there, a shout out to the website www.planetside.cc, which is the competitive home of PlanetSide 2. And if you want to go there, and discuss these videos or everything that we're talking about in the competitive community, you're more than welcome to join us. I'm actually one of the super moderators there. The admin's a good friend of mine. He coded the website in one day. I also wanted to keep this video short, so hopefully it'll be a little bit easier for your digestion. Anyway, that's it, folks. See you next week.